One of the best ways that a writer really connects us to their story is through characters. And there's something called characterization. In characterization, there's really 5 elements that can be explained, and we use the acronym STEAL for this. One, what do characters speak, right? What dialogue, how do they speak? Their interactions, all of those type of things. Second are their thoughts, what the character thinks, believes, what they value, and what motivates the character. We can often use inner thinking, one of our techniques, to show this. The third one is the effect on others, how the character may change in front of other characters, perhaps even alone, or how they are in person in groups and how they treat other characters. The third is the actions, how the character behaves, including on how they react to people. And oftentimes those can be physical, like imagery of what's happening. And then looks, how a character's physical appearance, their body language, their physical features, what that tells us about the character. So here we have just a little form that you can think about a main character and identify, explain. So there's 2 ways to do this, just like we've been doing with all of it. As a reader, you can look at some of the stories that we have read and fill out, what did the character say, what did they do, and kind of analyze the literature and see what the author is doing there. On the other side, we can think about the characters that we want to develop, and we can say, how do I want my character to say this? What do they sound like? Do I want to use dialogue here? Do I want to show their thinking? Perhaps you want to say, oh, I want this character to really, stand out. Maybe I put the hands on the hips. Maybe I show that this character feels larger than life. Of course, our characters are typically real people, but there is something about being, an 8-year-old and having this imposing adult figure who might only be, 5'10", but feels like they're 7 feet tall. So thinking about these as we're building our characters are going to be really important, and thinking about who we are as a character in our own writing, right? What do we stand for and what do we look like? So on this second page here, I have this list of sample character traits, and something you really want to think about with your character is, what are they like? What were you like in the moment that you were writing about? Because you might be very different now than you were in this moment. Would you say that you were bossy? Were you bored? Were you energetic? Were you jealous, right? Were you innocent in this moment? Were you rude? Were you secretive? So you're going to want to think about, what characteristics are you going to draw of yourself as a character, and then who are the other people in your story that you really need to develop as characters in order to show us the emotion and connect us to your storyline. This is not easy, so if you're like, oh, this is really hard, it is really hard, but it's what makes writing so enjoyable. It's why we love stories, and why we love characters and think they are real people. At least I like to pretend they're real people when I watch shows. I'm never the person who wants to meet the actor, because I always want that like character that I imagine them to be. So we're going to practice this in our own writing, as we always do, and we're going to try to study it some in the writing that we've seen.